In the beginning, August 1904. The thing that has stayed with me for the rest of my life is the smell. It has haunted my sleeping and waking dreams for these many years since. The farm pond where my wife died stank in that midsummer with a fecund richness, duckweed, rotting cattails, and a green cloud of pond scum. There are always dragonflies floating in the thick, radiant air of my memories, and the memories themselves are running with sweat. So wretched is that day that it remains fully present in the depths of my mind, even now. My wife's screams and those of her sister silence the surrounding world. Birds and crickets and the very moles under the ground cease for a moment to be. Scream surrounded by dead silence as I turn away from the picnic strewn over the blanket in the field above the pond. Silence as my heart stops beating in my chest and my limbs chill for want of blood. Silence except for the shrieks of Sister Isabel as I sprint down through the thick, sharp stubble of freshly mown hay. A yellow jacket sting that I won't notice till later, much later. Silence except for the hoarse voice of Isabel tearing her throat out as she screeches for help. I'm ripping my shirt off as I scramble over the barbed wire fence at the pasture's edge and leap far out into the flat below, stripping my pants down to my knees and abandoning them in the sucking mud, struggling against the whole desperate weight of the world to get to the water. The water where my sister-in-law clings to a downed tree, pointing with an algae-stained arm to the center of the pond. I see beyond her flung hand the upturned rowboat that the two had gone exploring in. Neither girl is a swimmer, neither with the sense to wait for me to come back with their jar of wine and a piece of cake. Finally, I'm in water deep enough to wrench my feet from the mud, and I'm swimming free from the gasping, clinging clutch of earth. Swimming high in the water, yelling now. I call out her name. I cry from the pit of my lungs as if to tear the air, thinking that she can hear me even deep in the water, even deep beneath the blue-green surface of pond scum and water beetle. I see nothing when I reach the rotten boat, not her arm or her hair, not her hand flung high or the bubbles of her breath, and I dive straight down, my eyes open in the slant green light beneath. I'm twisting my head madly side to side, searching in the underworld till my lungs sear and burn. Up again, I scream her name, diving again and again until it is all I can do to cling to the upturned shell of the rowboat, weeping now into the water beneath, my skin, my heart, my guts logged with filthy water. My arms and legs weak from lack of air, my brain stunned into silence so that I can only whisper her name, Rachel. It takes them 2 days to drain the pond. They find her body at the upper end, tangled by her muddy dress in the limbs of what had been a submerged tree. Her fingers scraped raw from her struggle to escape and climb into the light. Her mouth gaped open in silent wailing. My name? I would wonder later as I lay all night alone in our bed. Was she screaming my name or that of our daughter? Was she screaming for her baby? What was she calling out as the blind water seeped down her throat and into her bloody, pulsing lungs? I refused to have her embalmed. The law decrees that if she isn't embalmed, she must be buried immediately, within 2 days. I refuse because I know that she's pregnant. Not far gone, but with child nonetheless. Full with, dear God, our second child. A copy, perhaps, of 2-year-old Bridget, the sweetest and kindest to bird or beast. Perhaps it is a boy. I dream that it's a boy. But how to ever know? I refuse because I cannot bear the thought of a stranger's cold hands cutting into her, draining her blood, filling her and the babe with a wash of icy chemicals. On the day of the funeral, I fling myself into the open grave. I'm distraught, crazed, such that suddenly and irrationally I'm convinced that she yet lives, might rise up if I can only tear the lid off the coffin with my bare hands. With the strength of 10 desperate men, I might retrieve her from the depths of the dirt-strewn world beneath the grass. Later, they would say that I fainted, or even that I was drunk. They would say that I was lost to the rational world and torn by grief. 2 strong deacons dragged me from the grave. Deacons of her parents' church who find my uncontrollable weeping and savage fighting against them a sort of demonic possession. But they don't know death, don't know its naked, intimate touch, as close as a tongue-locked kiss or a whispered secret. They don't know death as I will come to know death, the rasp of bone on bone, the frigid embrace. They drag me away before filling in the grave, convinced that I've lost my mind and might harm myself or attack them. And so in this long ago season of weeping, I lose her body to the underworld. It was she who thought I would become a preacher. She hoped I would become a devoted man of God like her father, and in so doing, make her proud in the years to come. So Jedediah has issues. He lost his wife. He was the only one in the party who could swim. He couldn't save her, his beloved, the mother of his baby. And he spends the rest of his life trying to make up for what he'd done or couldn't do. And so, for those of you who are interested in the writing craft, this becomes a novel about drowning or baptism, and which is which, and how are they different, if they are.